In 1981, there was a murder so shocking that it changed the entertainment world forever, yet the killer was never brought to justice. Now, almost 40 years later, we're reopening the case, reviewing old leads as well as new evidence, to try and make sense of a killing which gave rise to a massacre. The who, what, why, and how of when video killed the radio star. Welcome to the Radio Star Murders.
Hey, welcome to the Radio Star Murders. We're going to be breaking down music videos, determining if a video did in fact indeed kill the radio star. We're going to be doing I Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That by Meat Loaf today. And Clay, this was your choice.
Yes, it was. And I'm here to tell you about what this movie, it is a movie. It really is a movie. It's a grand film by one of America's greatest directors. And as a brief synopsis, after a brief prologue about traveling the universe to find quote-unquote her, we open on the entire police force of a small country chasing down a beastly phantom alien motorcycle Dracula, who I can only assume did something really awful to warrant such a waste of tax dollars on his apprehension. After accidentally killing a cop, the demon casually heads home, where he finds an extremely narcissistic female trespasser sitting on his fountain, dripping water on herself while she looks in the mirror. Freaked out by how hot she is, the hideous monster runs back to his mansion and explains to all of his candle friends, very vaguely, the thing he would not do for love. While talking to himself, the hot lady breaks into his home and proceeds to sensually rub herself all over his stuff in a sort of bizarre Goldilocks scenario where Goldilocks is constantly horny and in need of a bath, and the bears are wanted for murder. After finally explaining that the one thing he won't do for love is cheat on her, the girl gives the monster a very chaste hug, which, in the grand tradition of fairy tales, offers the hideous ugly beast only the slightest of physical upgrades by turning him into Meat Loaf. The new lovers ride off into the sunset just as Detective Patrick Bateman shows up with the entire LAPD to find an empty monster house, a Michael Bay film.
I thought it was Detective Jared Leto. Who does he play in American Psycho?
Paul Allen.
I think that detective looks like a drop-dead ringer for Paul Allen, I think. But anyway, yeah, this is a Michael Bay production, which is shocking.
Hell yeah.
It's a 12-minute long song. The video is 7.5 minutes long, and the single on the radio is 5 and 13 and some odd change. So why did you choose this song?
I choose this song because the song itself is epic enough, and I've always kind of wondered, even now, I'm not totally sure exactly what he won't do for love. I guess it's cheat on her, I guess, is the answer.
There's actually, we talked about in the previous episode about learning something about a song and looking for the lyrics. I thought that this song was in the tradition of Meat Loaf's Bad Out of Hell, the first album. This is off the second one. And I thought it was more in the tradition of the sort of funny songwriting that they do. Him and Jim Steinman, I think, are the people who write these things. This song is not being funny about anything. Like it's not actually saying it. It says there are 4 things in the lyrics that he won't do for love, and
there's 4.
Yeah, there's 4 of them. I can say them. There's forget the way that you feel right now. Forgive myself if we don't go all the way tonight. Do it better than I do it in my life.
I don't know if those are the things he won't do for love, though.
This is the funny thing. It's what's confusing about it is that the last line is "I won't do that," and it implies that he hasn't already said what he's talking about. But those things are mixed into the verses before then. So he'll say,
"Well, my understanding, I know what you're getting at, but my understanding is that the song as a whole is him talking about how difficult it can be being in a relationship, and there are ups and downs, and sometimes things are really hot and heavy, and sometimes he wants to, just get out of there. And then she accuses him of cheating.
Yes.
And so the whole song is him saying, listen, this might be tough. This might not be the easiest relationship. There are tons of things I would do for love, but I would never cheat on you. That's my understanding what the song is about.
That is, and in typical Like the funny thing about Meat Loaf and Steinman who write these are their songs are pretty clever. They're almost like they're not really parodies, but they're like very interestingly clever lyrics. Like I don't even know if this is my favorite Meat Loaf song, but it's a good example of stuff like 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad and Paradise by the Dashboard Light and stuff like that. They're clever, and what you're saying is right. She sort of flips it around on him at the end and says, you're going to leave me and you're going to do all these things. And he says, I won't do that. I would say that he does list a bunch of stuff that he won't do earlier. So it's not this, what's funny about the song is there's this whole like mythos and like popular culture about like, what is that thing he won't do? And he actually says it a bunch of times in the song. It's very funny. Like it's one of those things you only realize when you look at the lyrics, I guess. And the fact that people probably don't listen to the whole 12 minutes of the song and get to the end where the woman is saying everything that he won't do for her.
Right. Well, the reason I picked the video was because even as a kid, this video always fascinated me because, because of how semi-mysterious the lyrics are, and B, just because of how wackadoodle the video is.
Yeah.
Where they've really taken the tradition of, it's sort of how music videos skewed after Thriller, basically, where they went from just showing off the band playing with some intercuts of some weird artistic shit into we're actually going to tell a short film story. Like in the last episode, we talked about how there's been like a progression where all of these changes have sort of like blended into something that kind of is not great anymore. And this is right in the pocket where they were throwing a lot of money at these things and they were telling stories. This is like a big fairy tale story. And, I love how it takes the idea of the music video, the trappings of the music video, which still has to show the singer singing the song, but also creates this weird fictional universe where he exists independently of the other character that he's playing, because he shows up, Meat Loaf shows up as himself.
Yes, while the
singing.
beast is still there. Yeah.
Yeah. While the beast is still there in like this weird cutting back and forth. And it's just and they're also, there's literally a scene that they take right out of Bram Stoker's Dracula where the 3 women come up out of the bed and start like
lesbian sex,
rubbing themselves off of, and while he's just like sitting in a chair talking about stuff he's not going to do. I feel like it's the best way you could have handled this song, because the song is so nebulous that you kind of need a narrative video to kind of lock it down.
See, as we get into this and we try to hash out what this show is actually, what we're talking about, like what the concept behind this idea is, I'm approaching it now as whether or not the video is a good fit for the song and whether it enhances it or anything like that. And I don't know if this one actually does. I was shocked that Michael Bay directed this, although when I was watching it and I didn't realize it was Michael Bay, I was like, will this film student ever give me an establishing shot that's longer than 2 seconds so I can figure out where the fuck what I'm looking at, what's going on?
No way, man. It's all about impressions.
There's so many cuts. It's like, it's impossible to track what's going on. And then as the beast is running through the forest and then he falls into his sort of like this fountain or whatever and gets to his house, it kind of slows down at the end and everything. But it's a very Michael Bay style. Apparently him and Meat Loaf had a little bit of a connection because he directed a bunch of his videos.
I mean, the first shot of the video is like a helicopter flying in front of the sun.
Yes.
Which is like,
chasing a motorcycle.
If that doesn't tip you off right away. Yeah, as a ghost motorcycle drives into a tomb. So if that doesn't tip you off, I think.
Do you think
this, it's funny. I wasn't sure until I looked it up if this was a Michael Bay or a Fincher, because I know Fincher did a lot of music videos too. I think Fincher might have done Janie's Got a Gun, which I thought the cop in this was the same cop from that video, so maybe that also is Michael Bay. I don't know. Either way, this cop is getting weird cases, and he's not very good at his job.
Yeah, he's on the demonic possession team or something like that, chasing down these things. So you think the video actually works for the song?
Yeah, I think it does.
Does the Beauty and the Beast thing work in terms of what they're talking about in the song?
No, I don't think so at all.
Okay,
no.
All right.
Maybe it doesn't work. I guess it kind of doesn't now that I think about it, because that's what fascinates me so much by it, is because the story that they're telling in the video is like completely removed from what the song is actually talking about.
Yes. But it feels like it
sort
fits.
of. Yeah, but I guess you could make the argument that he's telling this woman all of the things that this new love of his, all of the things he will do or won't do. But it's a girl he just met, so there's no sort of like connection there.
Yeah.
It seems to me like they were like, this song has a woman singing in it. We need to have a video where a woman plays a prominent role other than just like showing her boobs and like her legs and stuff.
Yeah, I'd say that.
And also, I would also like to say there is a bit of a fulfillment as far as the Jim Steinman element goes, in that Jim Steinman loves this shit. Like if you didn't know, the song "Total Eclipse of the Heart," which was by Bonnie Tyler, which was written by Jim Steinman, originally was written for a musical he wrote about vampires.
Yeah, sure. What a strange songwriter he is. He's very good,
yeah,
but he's
he wrote
very
an entire
unique,
musical about Batman that never came out. There's a bunch of songs on YouTube you can find that are all songs by him that were for a musical about Batman that he then repurposed a few of them into later Meat Loaf albums. But he like loves this gothic epic shit. So like if you're gonna do a Jim Steinman video or Meat Loaf video, it has to be big, it has to be bombastic, it has to be epic. I think it works for the song in that it is if it is nothing else, it is an epic music video.
It is epic. I think it could be more. I'm actually through the fact that it's Michael Bay, I actually feel like it's a little bit lacking. I feel that the first thing that I don't know if the video suits the song is that the video chops off about 5 minutes of the song for it. And after listening to the full version of the song, I don't know if it's a big sacrifice because the song is kind of samey. Like the composition,
well, like three of those 5 minutes are just like piano intro.
They are. There's the motorcycle revs in the beginning for about 35 seconds, and then the piano riff is pretty fucking sick though. That's a wonderful piano riff, and it's got that Steinman Meat Loaf thing where the piano is actually dominant over the guitar in the song. Like you hear the piano a little bit more, but I think that it's not a great. I think the song is too long, obviously, for one thing, but it gets kind of samey, although the composition is pretty outstanding. It's obviously a very composed bit of music, and I think that the video suffers a little bit because it can't sustain the entire length of that. It has to cut it down to make it appetizing for an MTV type audience, and I don't think that I think that it fits on some sort of weird emotional level, but I don't really know if it works all that well. And it also is teeters dangerously close to goofiness, which I think on earlier Meat Loaf songs works a little better than here. But it's actually an earnest song from Meat Loaf, which is unusual for me. And it's unusual because I realized it as opposed to like Bat Out of Hell and things like that, which are a little bit more comical, maybe. Like there's a sense of humor to those. And this one doesn't really have that. It's a very sincere love song.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that they weren't more literal about it, actually, and have like a video about, even like a knight or something, something that's equally epic, but is more about a knight actually trying to win the love of a woman or something instead of this weird Beauty and the Beast thing. Yeah,
well, to me, it felt like the kind of video, if you're doing it modern, he would be singing in their apartment as she is breaking up with him and packing a bag. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know if that quite matches the.
It doesn't match the theme, but you'd have more. I feel like the stress on the anything but that would be built into it, but the sort of the production of it is kind of insane because there's a lot, especially when he gets to the house and there's candles everywhere and things like that, and the cuts are just so fast. You never really appreciate how much work is going into it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean this video was production designed like crazy. I mean, it is a shame you don't get to see more of it because it looks great. I mean, if you like that Michael Bay look, which kind of originated when he was doing this stuff, it looks fantastic.
So what's
go ahead.
Would you say this is Meat Loaf's best video that he's come out with? I feel like a lot of Meat Loaf videos. It
has to be.
Yeah, it's got to be up there. A lot of them I feel like are live performances that have been cut into music videos.
And also, to be fair, I don't really remember any. I know there's one for Paradise by the Dashboard Lights, but that's more of just like him singing, I think.
Yeah.
And this is the only one that sticks out in my mind. And I mean, if you look at it from that point of view, it's definitely successful because I have this video has been in my mind for 30 years and I've never forgot it.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if it's me over the past 30 years, every now and then going, wonder what the hell that Meat Loaf video was about.
I mean, it's got a bunch of good moments. I like his exploding through the crypt wall as he like destroys the police officer who's got a shotgun waiting for him to go.
I was wondering if that was a callback to Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, sure.
His character comes in busting through the wall on the motorcycle, and that I wonder if that was an intentional reference.
Yeah, it's it's good. Do you like Meat Loaf? Is Meat Loaf something you listen to?
Not frequently, but I think that everybody can get something out of every now and then listening to Bat Out of Hell 1 in its entirety because it's a fucking amazing album.
Yes,
it's like if you're not too worried about listening to the hippest music of today, Bat Out of Hell is an amazing album. It's really awesome. I'm a big heavy metal fan. I love that. I love the epic music every now and then, and Jim Steinman is nothing if not epic, and Meat Loaf is nothing if not epic. So I've always liked his stuff.
Yeah, I like Bat Out of Hell 1. I think 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad is my favorite Meat Loaf song. This one's good. This one feels like it's the composition is just more elegant than the first album. It feels a little bit more complicated, and the sort of like the arrangement is more complicated. And it feels more like rock songs in the original one. This feels like it's really like an operatic piece, which fits the music video to a T. But I still Go ahead. Well, no, I think that it's I like the sort of straight ahead rocking aspect of the earlier Meat Loaf album as opposed to this one, which feels more like this is arranged, and I appreciate it on a technical level, but it's a little bit more difficult to sink into.
Well, it's kind of funny because it kind of reminds me a little bit of another video that I'm sure we will cover if I have anything to say about it, which is November Rain by Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, sure.
Where it's their first album is very much a straight ahead rock album, and then Axl Rose discovered the piano.
Right.
And it turned into like these super epic long, monstrosities, for lack of a better term, even though I like that song. But it's like it feels that has the same feel as this song, and I don't know if that was just the time where people were going bigger and more epic and grand at the time in music in general. Because I feel like this is right around when grunge is coming out, so maybe this is the tail end of the inflation of rock,
Yeah, this one came out in 93, right? So it's even later than that. Like Nirvana's been around for a little bit, so this is more. Yeah, that's true. It's been hanging out for a little while, and he's maybe just clinging on to his earlier success there.
And also, this was his like comeback album.
Yes,
because he had after he and Steinman split. He had a bunch of shitty albums and he blew his voice out, and this was them coming back together, and this was his big comeback. So it's appropriately large for that occasion, I think.
Yeah. So I guess we can just sort of wrap this up with whether or not we think that the video works. You picked it, so you obviously think that it or it kind of does, or at least you had a inkling towards it does. I think that watching this one it certainly feels of an era. You know what I mean? Like it feels like this is an early 90s music video. This is the way that they kind of made things back then. I don't know if it really fits the song. I think if they came to me with this script, I don't think I would have okayed it if I was the director of it, interestingly enough. Like I like the video and there's nothing really wrong with it. And this is totally just a personal taste thing. But I guess it goes into maybe the show is about us discovering what we would do for music videos if we had the call about it. And I don't know if this would have been my main thing, although it certainly feels of an era.
Well, I think it's all about intent and what you want out of it. Like, I would say, I honestly think this is a more successful music video than the Imagine Dragons one. Because that Imagine Dragons video is, while it might fit the song, I find it painfully forgettable.
Sure.
And kind of just like, bleh. Whereas this, like I said, it's been stuck in my head for 30 years. Like when I think of the song, I always think of the video. So in that case, I would say, yeah, I would call it successful.
Yeah, it's certainly not as sterile as the Imagine Dragon ones. Although I wonder if the sterility of the Imagine Dragons is kind of the intent. Although you can listen to what we talked about for that one. This one certainly feels warmer and more lived in than that. That's it, I think. Thank you for listening to the show. We're going to be breaking down more music videos coming forward. And thank you, Clay, for suggesting Meat Loaf's I Would Do Anything for Love, parentheses, but I won't do that, close parentheses. My next one, I think, since we'll take turns alternating, I'm going to go with a little bit of a classic. We'll really break down the how can you actually get away with spoilers in a music video. I think we're going to do the Prodigy Smack My Bitch Up, because I think that's one of the more interesting music videos. If you haven't seen it, check it out before we see it to see if you get a reaction out of it. But we'll be talking about that one next. Anything else you want to say about Meat Loaf?
No, I love it when it's cooked right.
That's right. It's an easy recipe, and it's basically just a big meatball that you don't split into other meatballs.
Yeah.
And he's excellent
I will
in Fight
say
Club.
Going forward, yes, he is excellent in Fight Club. Which also made me think that this was Fincher, because I thought that's where the connection was, but apparently not.
Yeah.
I will say going forward, as far as songs being picked by either of us, I'm going to tell you right now, more often than not, I'm probably going to skew older.
Yes.
Which is good, because I think it's good to get both a bunch of different eras, but I'm probably going to end up going more older, and I assume you'll probably be a little bit newer.
Yeah, newer, and either something because you kind of vacillate with the songs that we're picking. It's like I either like the song, I grew up with the music video, or there's something clever to the music video that I remember, and the Prodigy one falls into the clever aspect.
Yes, yeah.
So we'll see about that. But a lot of them are going to be, my sweet spots are probably like, if you were to plot out the dates of what music videos, it's probably going to be like the mid-90s will be the sweet spot, like the TLC Waterfalls era. That's when it was most in my living room and in my brain. But anyway, thank you guys for listening to us discuss Meat Loaf's I'd Do Anything for Love, but I won't do that. Leave some suggestions about songs that you'd like us to cover down below. And otherwise, I guess we'll be back with the Prodigy Smack My Bitch Up next time. So see you then.